Hello and welcome to this week's Encounters Wrap-Up. What number is this?
I don't know. We're recording on a brand new device, and usually I've got the computer in front of me with all the file numbers and that kind of stuff.
You may have seen it yesterday in our video. It was in front of him when he was ranting on about rules lawyers.
Yeah, you could barely see the little look like a foam thing. It was black versus my black shirt that I would usually wear when I'm vlogging.
But when he was waving his hands around, you could see that there was something there.
Yeah, we actually picked up a brand new Zoom H2N microphone so that we have better video for our vlogs. And now I don't have to drag a computer into the room we record in, and we're going to use this for our podcast. So the audio quality is much better than what the camera does that we've been using. I doubt it's going to be much better than the Samsung mic that we use on the computer, but it's much easier for us to use. And it also gives us the ability in the future, if we want to take it with us and do a group podcast or recording or interview of players that we're playing with, then it gives us a lot more flexibility. But anyway, this is our Encounters wrap-up. Last night was Wednesday, and we had our weekly encounters. This is Search for the Diamond Staff. It was number 5, and I'm DMing this season. This week, the characters were going after they got stomped the previous week by the mage and the guys, the chain whip guys, and all those guys were just heavy duty. Nobody had low hit points, it seemed like.
And this week I managed to forget my Blackguard character, so I ended up rolling a druid.
He rolled a druid and found out how useless being a bear was. He thought it would be awesome because he gets to be a huge with a 15 strength.
Yeah, and I don't know what their logic was behind that. Were the cats stronger than the bear somehow? But please, wizards, fix that.
Please, wizards, stop being dumbasses. I mean, seriously, a big cat is not going to be more powerful than a grizzly bear.
Or any bear, for that matter.
Well, maybe a little baby brown bear.
Yeah, but you're not taking a form of a little baby brown bear, are you?
No, if you're a huge, you're obviously taking like a grizzly bear form. So you should have been savage and doing horrible damage, and you were pretty useless.
Yeah. Well, I still was doing 4d4 plus 4 damage, and that is actually, if I rolled well, a lot.
Yeah, but I mean, you're still talking max 16 damage if you roll well, plus the 4, so max 20. A solid character is going to do just as much without having to change into a big, soft, useless bear.
Well, I did have an 18 AC, so I was like 2 or 3 behind my Blackguard on that. It wasn't too bad. I think I might play it next week, but I will be changing to the cat because it's more useful. I can actually stealth, possibly.
Is the cat also a huge? Because you're not going to fit into the building you need to get into.
I'll temporarily turn it into...
you need to... Because you've lost all your magic items if you're switching out. So, I mean, it's up to you.
I don't know. We'll see.
But anyway, this week they were still tracking down the staff. They came to a town, and they had to ask around to figure out where the group they've been following is gone. And
we found out that the group that we've been following is not the only group that's after the staff.
Yes, it's the dragon, like a dragon clan. And
it's the dragon cult we dealt with on the game day.
Exactly. So you're dealing with those guys again, and that's who you ended up fighting. And I was very concerned about this encounter for the party, because if I played it mean, I would have wiped you guys out. I did let you, when you had a group stealth check at the beginning, I let you pass that and gave you a surprise round, and you guys really kind of blew the surprise round because you were all tucked back in that forest. You didn't have line of sight, and
but you know, we
didn't do much.
No, but I move up in the surprise round, and then our wizard. We had 2 wizards again, but this was our wizard from the weekend. He's playing a wizard in this as well, or it was a wizard.
Yeah, no. It was a wizard from the weekend. He went and he cast the webs, and right so that it would lock up the bear. The druid's the only one in it. It locked up some of the enemies, but the enemies all made their saves and got to attack the bear that didn't make a save.
Well, I didn't make my save.
Well, you couldn't have made a save.
Another thing.
You couldn't have made a save because those guys piled up on you.
But another thing that was annoying me was the bear He only has reach 5. He only has a 1 reach. He can only hit things in the square right ahead of him, which is ridiculously stupid.
It makes sense. Because he doesn't have a reach weapon. It's just like his arm. He's huge, but he's still gonna, it's not like he has these super long arms. He's not a squid or an octopus. He'd be able to claw in front of him. Yeah, well, good luck breathing on land that way. So it kind of makes sense, but what doesn't make sense is just how they've made it so weak. Hopefully at higher levels it becomes stronger.
No.
So then the druid
at higher levels, I get the ancient
behemoth.
Yeah, the behemoth. But that one's weak for like a dinosaur or mammoth, considering you only have an 18 strength still.
So, wizards, once again, in their lack of wisdom, is screwing up another class. They screwed up the assassin class, they screwed up the monk class, and they've screwed up the druid class.
Granted, if you use the array that they are trying to force you to use, that might actually be a good strength score. But if you actually roll your character and get decent rolls and get your strength or whatever to 20, no.
Honestly, it's a new game. They need to stop with this array garbage. Let the characters roll and let some of luck of the draw create your character for you. Then your character, people love to say, I want to individualize my character. You can't individualize if everybody starts off with an array. You're all a cookie-cutter character. You're just putting it in different classes. And this cookie-cutter crap just doesn't cut it for me. It should be you create your character, you roll it up, what you get is what you get, and you make the best of what you have. That's what a real adventurer in real life does. They make the best of what they are, and they survive or they don't. And yes, there are real adventurers. There have been throughout history, but you make the best with what you have. And this cookie cutter crap, I think it falls back to gamers complaining that this character is too powerful in the party because they got good rolls and the whiny one got bad rolls. Well, you know what? You're going to end up dying. You're going to play it smart. Back in old D&D days, with AD&D First Edition, if you had mediocre stats, you're probably going to be a cleric. If you had some great stats, that's when you'd start being like a fighter or a ranger or something like that, where you need those high dexes. With mediocre or even not great stats, you could make an awesome thief that would be able to make it through and survive your adventures because of the way it was built. New D&D, what they've done with these arrays and the garbage that they're doing, it's horrible. It's just not good. That's why when people generate characters at my table, what do I have them do?
You have them roll.
I have them roll, and they get what they get. I do give them a chance to get a halfway decent character because I do the roll 4, drop low, and I give them the 6 rolls. And if by some stroke of luck they've got all bad things, I'll let them roll twice more. And sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. I give them a fair chance to have a good character, but they have to roll with what they literally roll. And it hasn't hurt anybody at our table that's generated characters under me.
I think this season I ended up with a character where his highest stat was 10. He kind of suicided. That wasn't happening.
Well, you roll with what you get. It's that simple. But anyway, back to the encounter. You guys came up, you found these dragon cult dudes and one of their leader, who happened to be a wizard, milling around because they had searched. And you guys came in, you got the surprise, your one wizard decided to bog you down with the webs.
I was so angry.
And then the webs worked well for me if tactically my goal was to kill your party. Because with the webs, what that did, it created a very large area on the board. It's got a 4 square radius. And that meant there was a thin area of about 3 squares. And everybody in your group, except you in the web, bunched up along that. Well, this wizard had Wall of Flame, which all I had to do was create a 30-foot line, decide which side the fire was on, and it was doing 5d8 of damage. Now, I did follow my don't be a dick rule when it comes to encounters. Yes, I do the full blast on the first attack. I did not nerf that down, But each subsequent round that your party was stupid enough to stay next to it, I only rolled 2d8 instead of 5d8. Granted, you're one wizard. It was hilarious because he goes in and he casts his flame sphere, and that requires concentration to keep it up to a minute. And he decides to cast another concentration spell. So what do we have to do?
You have to drop the flame sphere.
That's right. So he does the stink cloud, and that's another thing that requires concentration to stay up. So he got it out there for one round and did some damage. And the second I drop that wall of flame, he's down. So his concentration obviously is gone because he's negative hit points and unconscious, and the cloud dissipates.
I wanted that web to be gone, so I went to the spell, and I'm like, I wonder. And I look it up, and it's like concentration. Now, I don't know how that works, because, it's a web, like an arcane web. I don't see how you need concentration to keep that up. You just kind of go, ooh. But,
you can cast, the concentration spell's up. You can cast a non-concentration spell, which is what that mage did, that magic user did. The other one, he kept casting concentration spells, which one's going to negate the next.
Yeah.
So
I was trying to get rid of that web.
And if you're a DM, you need to think about that. If you've got wizards and they're trying to cast one concentration spell after another, and the concentration 1 minute means to keep it going round after round, they have to concentrate. They're not going to be able to concentrate on one spell, put another concentration spell up, and then concentrate on two of them. That's not the idea of concentration. You're actively thinking on that one spell to keep it up. You're keeping chanting or whatever it is, but don't let them have multiple concentration spells up, because that's just poor DMing, and it's letting them get away with something that they shouldn't be doing. So, I don't let my table do that. I don't know about the other DMs, but I can't let something that specifically says concentration stay up when they have to concentrate specifically on a new spell to create that one and keep it up. So, something for you to think about there.
One thing that's annoying me currently in 5th edition, though, with the spells is they do have casting times on all the spells, but everything is one action. It doesn't matter. It's not... They're making it exactly like 4th edition again, where everything's just instant, which I don't agree with.
Well, some spells they really need to make where it takes longer to cast. If they're much more difficult, it shouldn't just be like, bamf, 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 spell, spell, spell. Some spells, if they're especially heavy-duty spells... Like
Fireball.
They should take a while to get up. And then you can concentrate, and you're not able to do anything else other than concentrate on this heavy-duty spell. And if you think about it, that makes more sense than just letting them poop, 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 pop up spells constantly. It doesn't make any sense logistically to allow that. Now, the thing that got you guys was the web was up. You got trapped by the firewall, and the fact the web was up, a third of the enemy came down that same corridor that was now created that locked you into that area, and your front party members were not able to move. Tactically, putting the web down like they did, it sounded like a good idea, but it was bad tactics as far as combat, because it locked your party into a narrow combat corridor and left a spell like Firewall to be able to just wipe you out. If you were spread, I wouldn't have been able to use it to its full purpose.
I was the only one not there because I had to rush up anyways.
And there was no way I was going to put that fire spell on you. My original intent was to go across, hit you, because once I saw you lining up and then moving forward, and then that spell dropped, and I'm like, I can't do that, because what does web do when it's lit?
It sets on fire.
And
does 2d4 fire damage every round.
Spreads each round as well, so it would have been hitting everybody in his party.
Including him.
Exactly. So no wizard is going to be dumb enough to wipe out his own party, because I can say it right up now. The guys that I had out as orcs, who were the human berserkers, they only had 13 hit points. So there's a good chance that the web damage and then just minor stuff would have wiped them out. And that would have been bad tactically on my part to do it. Then the other guys who were the veterans, who knocked you prone and were doing heavy damage, you didn't want to do anything bad to them either.
Knocking like a 2 or 3 ton barrow prone, that was...
Well, you figure he just swept your legs out from under you. Those guys were not weak. I mean, it's another...
Yeah, they were probably stronger than my 15 strength bear, weren't they?
They were. I mean, these were not weak characters that you were fighting against.
It's just like you're...
And the thing is, I used the firewall, and then there are other spells there I could have used that would have made it even meaner on you guys, but I didn't do it. And you had 6 at the table. Tactically...
Wasn't there a fireball spell or something, or was that the other table's wizard that cast that on?
That was the other table's wizard that screwed up and killed his party.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, you know, there were other spells I could have done. There were other things I could have done. What I didn't do, because you had more than what the encounter calls for, I should either bump up hit points or add a few more guys in. I didn't do either because I just had a feeling it was not going to go well for you guys. And it wouldn't have gone well for you guys if I had have bumped or created more guys on the board. You guys managed to squeak it out. You're done about 15 minutes early, which was fine. But you had a wizard that was down, and other characters. I mean, your other wizard was sitting there burning all of his hit dice to get his hit points back up for next week. And so, I mean, I did my job. I didn't kill anybody. I made it difficult for you guys. You admit this week was a lot more difficult than last week.
I think if I actually would have brought my blackguard, it would have been a
little easier. It would have been harder for me to hit you, but it was still harder than last week because the wizard hit harder and the guys attacking you hit harder. Here's a complaint that I have with the 5e conversion. When I looked at the spells of the 4th edition wizard that you would have fought, he didn't have anything remotely near a 5d8 damage firewall. He had a couple of spells that might deal 5 or 10 points of damage, but
the issue with wizards...
he was useless compared to this wizard.
What level was that spell?
4th level.
That's why. In D&D, next, the spells are a lot more powerful than anything in... 4th edition, and I don't think they're creating new spells.
But the thing is, what they need to do is still find some way to create parity between the 4th edition and the 5th edition versions of these encounters. Because what they're creating is severely overpowered encounters versus the characters. Because you're really coming up against characters that are NPCs that are several levels higher than you, and they have a solid chance of destroying your party. It's not a matter of a challenge. I mean, literally last week, I could have TPK'd your party with one burst of that cloud. And I didn't do it because you guys would have...
How big was the burst of the cloud?
The cloud was...
was it stinking cloud?
No, it was like black cloud or death cloud. I forget what it was called, but it was nasty.
Death cloud?
Yeah, so it was I played it as a 5-foot radius. It was a 10-foot radius. All I had to do was move the cloud over 1.
What level was the spell?
4th.
Holy shit.
All I had to do was move it over 1. It would have hit every member of your party. I would have dealt the 66 of damage. And then every turn, I would have been dealing 66 of damage to anyone in that. And if you made the save, you'd still be getting half damage.
Now, granted...
So, no, 2 rounds would have TPK'd your party.
Yeah, but nah.
It would have been 3, maybe 4 rounds taking the half damage with that blackguard. You still would have been dead.
As if I moved out of the cloud because I can't be feared.
But you couldn't move out of the cloud because you were surrounded.
But I wiped those guys out pretty easily.
True, but that was after the 3rd round. By 3 rounds, you would have been close to death, taking 21 a round.
I could use a couple of spells on myself, and I probably could have gotten out.
But anyway, that's an overpowered encounter, and I see those, and I know what's going to happen if I play it as written under 5th edition conversion rules. I nerf it down a little bit, where the secondary hits, which is what I consider the hits after each first burst, I nerf it that way. I will do full damage on the first round, but I won't do that. I nerf it down. If you play it as written, I can't see parties surviving. If a DM plays it the way they should, where yes, they're still trying to hit and play like those NPCs are trying to win, you use their powers the way they're written fully, you're going to kill the characters. They're going to be gone. And
Now,
I think it's poor writing on.
I think we would have had a lot of easier time this week if our wizard Stinking Cloud actually hit the guy because of the amounts of damage. It was basically a lower level version of the Death Cloud doing poison damage. Now the Death Cloud
You missed the people you needed to hit, and he hit the guys who were basically minions, the 13 pointers. It's like, wow, you killed these guys, big deal. They're not going to do much to you.
Yeah, the only way you'd really not kill those guys if you just rolled a bunch of one.
But he missed on the veteran and he missed on the mage, so they took half damage, and that didn't even put a dent in them after he rolled.
Well, it was still like 13 damage, so it was a good.
It didn't put a dent in them. They were over 40s, so you didn't put a dent, and they were all able to do what they needed to do. I just think tactically your group played very poorly. Last week, I think it's kind of a and you had different players at the table. Tactically, the group is not playing where they should be playing, especially when you've got so many experienced players at the table.
Yeah, I mean, we had our wizard and druid at the table this week from Sundays.
She played well. She did what she needed to do.
What was she playing?
She was playing a ranger.
No, I think she was playing a ranged fighter.
No, she was playing a ranger this week. She was an elf ranger.
Oh, okay.
So she did well. She played her ranged character the way she should. She was hitting when she needed to. She was spreading out those multi shots, and she did well. I don't think the wizard thought when he dropped those webs and left a narrow corridor for you to work with. There was a better way to drop it, and that was not the way to do it.
Which wizard was that? Was that the one that goes there on weekends? No, that was the one that dropped because I. Which one was that?
That's our wizard that plays on the weekends.
Damn him.
So it was just he was trying to hit as many people as he could with a web, but didn't think about what he was doing to the party.
He just tries.
And that's something for players out there to think about. It's not always about how many people you hit with an attack. It's also about what room do you leave for your party to work. A wizard is a controller. You control the board, but you should not control the board to the extent that you inhibit your party's ability to work. And what he did was inhibited his party's ability to work. He could have dropped that web farther over.
And I would have been stuck. Wouldn't have been stuck.
Well, he could have hit, the way the board was laid out, he could have hit the person he needed to, the mage, the veteran that was beside him, 2 of the berserkers, maybe a third one if he angled it a little bit, and you would have had about 7 squares width that you'd be able to work in instead of 3. And 3 is not enough to work, especially when you've got all those guys you need to get to be able to attack. And he didn't leave a corridor of escape to attack.
I was just sitting there for the entire time. I didn't have to move because the guys were just coming to me. So I didn't have to worry about it. I had like 4 guys come up to me and I wiped each one of them out. So that wasn't too bad.
But I just think that there were some tactical issues with the way the party played this week. That it could have played out better for you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, if it would have been tactically done right, your other wizard wouldn't have been trapped in that corridor. I wouldn't have had... The only person that stayed out of that was RPG Gem. She's like, I'm not going in and getting killed. She stayed back and used her ranged heal. And then finally she moved in at the end and started helping. But you guys, except for you and her, you had the 4 people just bunched up together, and I just slapped them with that one attack, which was my plan in the first place, to blow that, and then you guys would have a chance from that point forward, the survivors. And when I mean survivors, I was not going to roll so everybody went like negative their hit points and died. I had no intention of killing your group, but I like to create a challenge for you guys.
Yeah. A good encounter is always to make it seem harder than it actually is.
Oh, I made it easier than it actually was, but I made it seem harder than what I was doing.
Yeah.
I could have made it just as hard as it was supposed to be, and it would have been an impossible encounter. Because he could have cast that spell with the fire 2 more times. On
our Sunday campaign, the 4th edition version, that is definitely...
It's hard for you to make it harder than it is right now, but we'll talk about that later. So overall, what are you thinking of this season so far?
I honestly... We have 3 groups, including us, going after staff right now, right?
Well, yesterday there were 2 tables. Oh, you mean groups in game?
Yeah.
There's the
We
group,
have the cultists and
the
Zent
cultists,
people.
and the Zentarum, and then you, which are working for Amani. I almost don't trust the Amani guy at this point. If I were you guys, I almost probably wouldn't trust him because you don't know whose side he's really on. I would at this point probably assume that he's against those 2 parties, but there's just too many groups involved right now for him to be totally neutral against both of them. You know what I mean?
I'd say kill all 3 and take the treasure for ourselves. You know?
Well, that would make you evil, and my thing is, I do say you shouldn't be playing evil in encounters. It's a bad idea.
But we've got the one guy, we could have allied with him, but we blew that last week because we had our lawful good party. And
well, you had 2 or 3 lawful goods, and then you had your neutrals, and you playing your semi-evil character, and it just didn't work. That's why if you're playing encounters, you need to be neutral to good in alignment. So you guys should be able to work together a little better. You shouldn't have such a wide spread, and you just need to think about what encounters is versus what our individual campaigns and stuff are.
Yeah. So we just killed off the cult people.
You killed off a group of cult people because they were talking about the master. Remember? So
wait, so we didn't just kill the master?
No, you killed you basically killed the butter bar, the squad leader, the guy that was leading this group of guys because they were talking about pleasing the master. If you remember when we were reading. So there's got to be a badass in there from them, and there's got to be a badass from the Zentarum. I certainly hope you don't meet both of them at the same time.
Now, I'd say
excuse me.
The master of the cult could either be a high priest or the god.
No, I don't think it's the god. I think it's whoever the high priest, or if it could even be some type of wizardly dude who is leading the cult. But
right now, what it looks like the Zentaran leader is the guy we met last week.
Possibly. He could be the leader of the Zentarum, which might make sense. I mean, he's pretty powerful. But the fact that this guy that you met this week was talking about pleasing their master, there's another big bad guy waiting to pop out in this. And
I'd say ally with him.
I'd say just, try to survive through everything that happens. You guys, most of the table, I think, made it up to level 6 this week.
Anybody that was at our table that weekend should be, because we're at like 10,050 right now.
And they're there because they played the weekend, the experience carries over, and then they've played every encounter. So right now they're level 6. Hopefully that'll help make them a little more powerful as a group. But our group keeps fluctuating. We were missing 4 players from last week. And we had other players that were missing from other tables. So I don't
know how I forgot my blackguard. I don't know how I managed to do that, but I gotta fix it.
I know how. You're just a doofus.
Yeah, but I gotta fix that. I gotta figure out where the heck I put it.
So, well, anyway, that was it for this week's encounter. Next week's encounter looks like it's gonna be a little bit tougher, even when I see after looking at the creatures you're gonna run into.
I don't want to know.
It's not going to be pretty. I mean, you guys came up. At this point, you left where you were. You've seen a tower. It's got giant spider webs all over the place. So you can only imagine that it's not going to be fun.
I don't like this.
So next,
I don't like spiders.
I haven't read this one yet. I mean, I'm trying not to read too far ahead. I kind of like to be surprised a little bit, not to the point where I'm preparing 5 minutes before. I always get to the shop about an hour or more before. I sit down and I read it. I read the 4E, then I'll read the 5E. I read the characters. Start writing down the hit points, the armor classes. I make adjustments to spells as need be over that hour. And then once everybody sits down at the table, I'm prepared for the game. Then it just becomes a matter of I figure out whether or not I need to add more guys or more hit points because I have a lot of people at my table. If you only had 4 at the table, I might drop some. If you have 6, 7 at the table, I'll add some. So I power accordingly. But that goes, again, to proper preparation. I don't have to worry about minis. We bring a giant box filled with minis every time. Yeah. So I've got what I need always. I sit there and I say to RPG Gem, I describe the minis I want. I don't tell her what they're going to be. Say, give me this many of this many of this, and give me this for the main guy. And I throw them down there, and I'm ready. I think what we might show is some of our game aids that we use in a vlog.
Game aids, minis,
like the trackers and things that we use, because I like using things that are reusable, recyclable from game to game, instead of, a lot of DMs just use paper and throw a ton of paper away. I don't like being wasteful that way. So I mean, we've gotten to where we have a lot of good game aids we use over the years.
I think we use some Matt called the Game Trapper.
Game Mastery or something like that. But maybe we'll show you that and some other stuff that we've made now that we use for our maps that we redraw and stuff like that. But it all goes into thinking about your game preparation.
Also,
my next vlog will be about once again going back to DMs, and I think I'm going to concentrate pretty heavily on preparation, not be so mean as I have been in the last 2 vlogs.
Yeah. I might or might not come out with something. I don't know. I don't really have an idea, but I can probably come up with something.
Yeah, I have quite a few in mind. As I said in the last vlog, we're going to start a series on alignments and talk about that. It'll probably be broken down over quite a few because I want to talk about specific alignments, general alignments, and stuff like that. And I'm sure RPGNate has a few things he wants to talk about. Anything you have in mind?
Not really. I don't know.
But I've got enough for quite a few vlogs in mind to go ahead and start working on. Plus, we have some reviews that we need to do. I've got some cool stuff coming today. We're going to maybe set up an intro for our vlogs and stuff, a video intro, after I figure out how to use some of this stuff. We are working on video quality as well. I figured out something with our camera we're using that should bump up the video quality on our vlogs, and the equipment we're using right now will bump up the audio quality on both our vlogs and our podcasts. So be sure to check in. I may even start trying to get our podcast set up so they're, I guess what's the word to use? Maybe syndicated, because you can put all your podcasts actively on things like Apple's site. So I might start doing that so you can get RSS feeds and stuff, and change how our podcasts are put on the blog itself. Once I've got that figured out, then we'll be really set. So we've got a lot of changes in the works, a lot of things we're adding, a lot of different ideas. Be sure to subscribe and keep up with us if you like what you're hearing, like what you're seeing. If you have any comments, be sure to comment. Comment on the vlog, comment on the version that's on YouTube as well.
And rate the video. Because, that's...
Well, technically, this isn't a video, but we're going to put it up. I'm going to start looking towards actively putting this up more in true podcast form instead of... I'll have it in video form on YouTube, but I'm also going to have it syndicated as a podcast.
Well, if you're watching the video form, then rate it on YouTube.
But, comments are always welcome on the blog. They're always welcome on YouTube. As you can tell, I'm a bit of the ornery DM, so sometimes I may get a little snippy if I perceive that a comment's snippy, but that's my personality, as you should be able to tell by now if you've watched enough. Never take it personally. If, it comes down to the fact that sometimes you can't see sarcasm and stuff like that when it's typed on the web. So, anyway, that's it for this podcast. You have anything else you want to say?
See you this weekend, or Monday, whatever.
Yep, and we might, I don't know, I really want to start doing a Friday vlog as well to go with our Wednesday. I want to start moving it up where we've got a couple of vlogs a week, so if I make a firm decision today of what we're going to do, then we might have a vlog going up tomorrow as well.
All right.
Other than that, that's it for this one.
Hope you enjoyed.
And be sure to rate, subscribe. Thanks again. RPG Dad, signing off.
Bye.